Hello world! Wave Time here, bringing to you another super project. This super project episode will be focusing on this building right here. Very nondescript. So for the casual viewer, they will just come in here and bookcases lead a bit to what its function is. They'll come over here, see that there's a nice sugarcane farm. Maybe you can make books with it. They come over here and see a few raw resources to make linking books and all of those. Linking books, descriptive books. Nice little pad here, maybe it's a linking thing. And some more raw materials, a notebook. And that's pretty much it. So they'll just look around, look for any tricks, but then just leave. Now if they're really lucky, they'll come and see these two buttons on the edifice. Pressing one, nothing happened. Pressing the other, nothing happened. Pressing both of them near the same amount of time, nothing happens. So they'll just leave. Now, here's the cool thing. If they come in, if they know what to do, and press both of the buttons within a 1-second interval, pistons will come out and a monitor will appear in front of you. This monitor is the reason we have this entire room, because it contains all of the stuff that we will be needing for this. So let's go for a nice example. So for this computer, this is pretty much controlling this entire building. And it's quite interesting in its operations. So let's try a simple little program. 68 call. So if we call it, we're waiting, and then pistons come out, and a linking book comes up. This is for the end. Then once the person links to it, after a set delay, it'll go back down, hide itself, and then go throughout the system that is underneath here. Now, after a little bit of a delay, it'll then reset itself, and then you'll be able to call a different book. So, book number 70, if you please. This time, we have the overworld. If we link to it, it'll be simple. You can see that we're in the overworld, alright? At the end portal. But that's for another time. Let's link back and go back to where we were before. Run away! Now, once it's done, once the person links back, it'll go back and all of that. And if you wanted to, you'll be able to just remove the nice little monitor and it'll go down and no one will be any the wiser. Let's bring it back up, shall we? And do a few more words. So, we have our nice little age 98 linking book, which we'll want to put into our system. What we should do for that is, little glitch there. I'm not sure why, but anyways. What we'll want to do is send this book into the system so that we'll be able to use it later. So let's take a spot and send it. So 65 send. It'll take this thing up here and have it open. We'll place our book in it so that we'll be able to use it at a later date. Then eventually it'll go back down. And then after a short time where it verifies that everything is hunky-dory and it is at its correct location, it will turn off all of the internals and then it'll be able to be used later. But what if you send the wrong book, unfortunately? What if you want to remove that book? You'll remove it, call it, remove it, it'll come back up. You'll be able to see the book that it's removing. Maybe you'll want to then remove the monitor. See, it's very fickle. It requires pretty much almost exactly a second to press it. So when it went back down, you could have linked in the interim, but eventually it will be removed and put into this nice little alchemical chest right here. So there's 3 basic words for this system. There's the call word, which takes a book from the system, or this system can be called the Nexus. There's one that will be able to send books to the system, and then there's one for removing the books from the system. So how about let's have a tour of the internals. After poking a nice little hole in the ceiling, several past attempts, you might notice, this is the entire Nexus system. It is completely modular, so you'll pretty much able to add up to about 4,000 books, but it pretty much works like this. Let's look at the thing that causes the monitor to go up and down. Basically, what happens is you press a button up there, it causes a 1-second time, and then it sends it down this nice wire to this AND gate, which is also connected to the other button, so if they're pressed within a second of each other, this toggles, this counter and timer setup sends pulses to the motors back there, allowing it to go up. So if we just test it with our toggle, it'll go up and be connected when it's at the top. Toggling it again will bring it back down. Now it's obviously connected to ribbon cables connected to a CPU with a disk drive, which is connected to 2 I/O expanders currently. This one is set to number 3. If we get out our screwdriver, we see it's set bus ID to 3, and this one is to number 4. Simple enough. So this one is connected to 4 wires. Well, only 3, this isn't supposed to be connected, but whatever. 3 wires. One of them is this orange one, which, when triggered, will send this pillar up that has a linking book stand on it. With all of this logic, it counts, then the repeater sends it after a long time to count back down, and then it'll cause the transposer to take whatever book is in there, send it through the mag tube, and go through the system. Now the white one is for our remove. When the white wire is triggered to stay on, this AND gate will be activated. NAND gate, opening up this transposer, allowing it to be a valid destination. So when this transposer ticks, the shortest destination will be through this, so it'll go through to our alchemical chest. Finally, we have this purple or magenta wire connected over to here, giving a nice 5-second delay, which when a book goes past, this is the output to the system for the storage. It'll go through the item detector, stay on for 5 seconds, be picked up by the computer, then turn off. So this is the storage module. Currently, there are 11 books able to be stored for this module. So as you see, we have our end book, which was 68, and our overworld, which is 70. And you're probably wondering, how does the computer determine what's the best way? If you look at this expander, which is set to 4, pretty much when we put number 68 into it, it does something called a modulus. So it divides it by 16 and whatever the division was. So for instance, 64 divided by 16 is 4. It'll go into here, set the ID to 4. Then it'll look for the remainder, which in our case, there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The remainder of 68 divided by 4, 16 rather, is 4. So then it pulls the book from position 4, goes through the transposer. When the yellow wire is on, this wire turns off because of the NOT gate, allowing it to be a valid destination. And as you see through the rest of the system, none of the other locations are valid because the transposers are powered by the NOT gates. So, as you see, it will become a valid destination, so it'll take off, go through here, send through the item detector, forcing this circuit to turn on, lifting the book up to the panel. There's some pistons, like a nice little double piston that takes the block out and replaces it with this book stand. Then once it gets back to the bottom, it'll be taken out, and since yellow is the only valid destination, it'll send it back there. So how about we show that in action? So if we do a page to clear that, we'll do a nice 5-second delay and call book 68. So calling it, the white one gets called, goes through the system, the logic activates, goes up, then eventually it goes down. Now as you see, this is the only transposer that is active, so it is the only valid destination, allowing it to go back to this location. As you saw, book went in, then eventually after a nice little delay, the yellow wire here will turn off again, allowing this one to go back. Now this system, as I said, was completely modular. So what you could do is expand this to 16 by using the remaining colors after purple, and then after that what you're able to do is have multiple IDs. So you could have up to, like, what is it, 255 less 4, so you can have 251 sets of 16, which, if my math serves me correctly, is over 4,000. So for this very uncomplicated setup, you can have 4,000 of your personal books in this Nexus system, ready for any of your use. Now going through all of the words, that was the call word. What the send word does is simply turns on the orange one, lifts it up, you place the book down, then it'll go through. Now there is a manual override for for all of the words actually, that if you do an oops, call a book that isn't a valid destination or anything like that, what it will allow you to do if you press the button that is up there, so let me show you. If you press this button when you call a word, it will reset the system so that it halts the current task. So, with this Nexus system, what you're able to do is store easily 4,000 books without much of a sweat. All it requires is some blue electric power, which is easily provided by thermopile, and a bit of ingenuity with button placements and all of that. And also remembering where each and every single one of your books are in the system is always a good idea. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of, guess what, Super Project Nexus. If you like what you see, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe to future episodes. Wave Time here, signing off. Have a wonderful day.